Okay, friends, let's start dealing with the types of collisions. So, in day-to-day life, we come across with collisions, and we are supposed to bifurcate them into different types so that technically we can analyze them. So, when we talk about collisions, friends, the first collision which you should come across or you should understand is elastic collision. So what is an elastic collision? Let's understand that, okay? So before I talk about elastic collision, there is a statement for first. If in a collision, I say the total kinetic energy as well as total momentum, they both are conserved. So that means the total kinetic energy before collision should be equal to total kinetic energy after collision. Similarly, the total momentum before collision should be equal to total momentum after collision. Now, such collisions will get categorized under elastic collisions basically, or you also call it as perfectly elastic collision. So, both the things are supposed to be conserved in this case. So, the momentum is supposed to be conserved. Yes, Chaitali, you can speak, unmute and speak. Chaitali, you have any doubts, you can ask me, unmute and speak, no problem. We are waiting for you to. Okay, let me see. Okay, by mistake. Okay, fine, no problem, Chaitali. So here we were discussing about collisions, and the first type of collision which we come across or we bifurcate it into is an elastic collision. In elastic collision, what happens is the total kinetic energy as well as the total momentum will be conserved. Okay, so please take a note of this before I start getting into the details of collisions basically, friends. And once you're done with it, let me know so that I can share a different screen with you. Yeah, hopefully done. Most of you say done. Good. Okay, so when we are talking about collisions, friends, these are the things which we come across in day-to-day life. Okay, a meteorite hits Earth is also a type of collision, basically. Right. So here you can see important thing. If in any collision, linear momentum is conserved. Now, what does that mean? The total momentum before collision should be equal to total momentum after collision. Second, the total kinetic energy is also conserved. Then we will call such collision as elastic collision. Okay, quickly make a note of this. So when we talk about elastic collisions, you can see the objects involved remain separate. The total kinetic energy and the momentum are conserved. Okay, such type of collisions we will consider them as elastic collisions or perfectly elastic collision. Okay, please make a note of this before we move ahead. Again, people say yes, they're done with it. Fine, no problem. Okay, now let's deal with the examples of elastic collision.
Sir,
Yes.
please show the previous slide.
Okay, okay, no problem. So once you're
No,
done with it, let me know, Reva.
no, sir. Another previous one.
This one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Hopefully done. Okay, should we move
Done,
ahead?
sir.
Yeah, okay, okay, okay. So when I was talking about elastic collision, friends, we were talking about some examples also. So normally when we talk about elastic collisions, all micro collision means the collision between the gas molecules, ideal gases you can see, such collisions can be considered as elastic collision. Because in such collisions, you can see the total kinetic energy will remain conserved as well as the momentum also remains conserved. All micro collision in day-to-day life, collision between alpha particles or gas molecules or air molecules, you can see such collisions would be considered as elastic collisions. Please make a note of this before we move ahead. because these slides are self-explanatory. You should quickly note it down, okay, by the time I'm discussing, so that the continuity is maintained. Yeah, most of you say done. Good, no problem. So let's move ahead then. Right, here you can see, here in this case you can see elastic collisions. We often approximate these type of collisions, okay, to be elastic. That means they are not exactly elastic. We just try to approximate such kind of collision. The foot and ball remains separate and so on. Just giving you some examples basically. Okay. Now these are nearly elastic collisions. They are not elastic collisions. We will call them as nearly elastic collision. Why? The momentum will remain conserved, but the energy, kinetic energy won't remain conserved. Why? See, when I'm saying kinetic energy won't remain conserved, it does not mean that the total energy won't remain conserved. Total energy always in the universe will remain constant, conserved as per law of conservation of energy. Here specifically I'm talking about kinetic energy. So kinetic energy won't remain conserved. Now why kinetic energy won't remain conserved if the case is of nearly elastic collisions and not elastic collisions? Because the kinetic energy after collision may get converted into a different type of energies like sound, heat, and therefore whatever was the kinetic energy before collision won't be equal to kinetic energy after collision. So such collisions we will call them as nearly elastic collisions. That means they are not exactly elastic. Why they are not exactly elastic? Because kinetic energy is not conserved. In elastic collision, what happens? Kinetic energy as well as momentum is conserved. But in case of nearly elastic or inelastic collisions, you need to understand that the momentum will remain conserved, but the kinetic energy won't remain conserved. Again, you have to differentiate here between the two. Kinetic energy won't remain conserved because it will get converted into different type of energies like sound and heat. But that doesn't mean that the total energy won't remain conserved. Okay, so these two are different statements I'm making. So you need to understand the difference between the two. Okay, fine. Hopefully you have noted this down. Once you have noted this down, let me know so that I can move ahead. Just share the feedback in the chat section. So we move ahead and get into greater details then. Yeah. So fine, good, no problem. Let's move ahead then. Such collisions, I said the name would be given as nearly elastic collisions, then can be considered as the new name, inelastic collisions. And in the category of inelastic collisions, we have a concept called as perfectly inelastic collision. Now what happens in perfectly inelastic collision? So the two objects, they after collision they become one mass. Like say for example, a meteoroid hits Earth or any planet. Then after collision, what's going to happen? The meteoroid is going to stay on that planet or Earth. So ultimately after collision, what's happening? Both the bodies are becoming one mass, and they say, you can see objects in the space can fuse like this, and they start moving with a common final velocity. Now this particular case where the two objects become one mass, they fuse and they start moving with common velocity, final velocity, we will call such kind of collisions as perfectly inelastic collision. So the accidents which we come across in day-to-day life, they are not perfectly inelastic at times. Mostly they are only inelastic. But what happens in perfectly inelastic collision? The two bodies appear to stick together after collision, and then they move with a common final velocity, you can see. And such collisions would be perfectly inelastic collisions. So we have seen three types, okay? Elastic collisions we have seen, or perfectly elastic collisions, the other name for it. Then the second type which we have seen is nearly elastic, that means inelastic collisions. And the third type is a specialized one of the second one. We call it as perfectly inelastic collision. make a note of it, and then we move ahead. So please see to it that you are done with it, and then let me know so that we can move ahead with our discussion. Okay. So most of you say done. Okay, no issues. Let's move ahead then. So as I have said, perfectly inelastic collisions, what happens? The objects, they become one mass. So M1 and M2 will become one. So this was the initial momentum. Okay, M1 V1 plus M2 V2. That's the initial momentum. Earlier we have used terms like U1 and U2, but here they can change the term. So no issues. Whatever you change, just express it. You just put it in information when you write answers. It's okay. Here initial velocities are represented by V1 and V2. No issues instead of U1. But then what happens in this collision? M1 and M2 stick together, therefore the final mass will be M1 plus M2, and they will move with a final common velocity. So VF stands for final common velocity. So this equation would be valid for perfectly inelastic collision. So please make a note of it. Once you are done with it, then we move ahead. Okay, great. Fine. So, good. Nice. Let's move ahead. Here, the greater details are given. Okay, the objects become one mass in perfectly inelastic collision. Vf is the vector sum of the two velocities. Okay, the final velocity for v1 and v2. You can see. Again, make a note of this slide so that we can move ahead. Okay, so most of you say yes. Great. So we can then move ahead. No problem. Yeah. So here are some examples. You know, perfectly inelastic collision, what happens is when after collision, if say two objects they crash and they appear to stick together, then such collisions are also considered as perfectly inelastic collision. You can consider them as examples of perfectly inelastic collision, friends. So make a note of it before we move ahead. Okay, hopefully you have noted it down. People say so. Say I'm checking out your feedbacks in the chat section, okay, and accordingly I'm moving ahead. Fine. Okay. Here you can see the total momentum is conserved, okay, but kinetic energy is not conserved. And what may be the reason? The reason may be the kinetic energy gets converted into sound energy, because after every collision we come across sound being produced. So we can say kinetic energy gets converted into sound energy. Therefore, kinetic energy is not conserved in such kind of conditions. So please make a note of this also. These slides are self-explanatory, so things become very easy for you to judge and understand, analyze. Okay, hopefully things are pretty clear till here. Yeah, so most of you say yes. Okay, no problem. Let's move ahead then. Yeah, so kinetic energy not conserved. So you can see here the temperature may increase. So temperature is being represented in terms of heat energy, or heat energy is also represented in terms of internal energy. So not only sound energy, there is the conversion can be in internal energy format also. It may get converted into heat basically. So this is the slide telling you why kinetic energy is not conserved. So the second factor which comes into picture over here. Make a note of it and then we move ahead. Okay, hopefully done. Yeah, getting it in the chat section. Yeah, most of you say yes. So let's move ahead then. Right. obviously the objects will alter their conditions. The cars will never be the same again. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so what happens in elastic collision? Okay, let's come back to the main process now. Let's compare it on one slide, all the type of collisions. So here you can see elastic collisions. When we talk about, zero kinetic energy is lost. Okay, that's important. That's the point of difference, because here momentum is going to get conserved. But the important thing which we should remember about elastic collisions or micro collisions or collision of gas molecules is, the kinetic energy won't be lost, will be conserved. Now what happens in inelastic collisions or perfectly inelastic collisions? In inelastic collision, what will happen? The kinetic energy is lost, momentum is conserved. And in perfectly inelastic collision, what will happen? The objects fuse, and we often approximate the collision as one of the two extremes. Basically, make a note of this slide before I can demonstrate some examples which we can come across while dealing with such kind of collisions. And then more specifically, we will deal with the different types in details. Then we will try solving problems on this. Okay, most of you say done. Let's move ahead. I'll show you how we deal with questions based on the different types of collisions, friends. Right. Let's, yeah, here in this case you can see a 1300 kg car is moving at a speed of 20 meter per second, and a 900 kg car moving at a speed of 15 meter per second in precisely opposite direction. Participate in a head-on crash. We consider this event to be perfectly inelastic collision. Then, what is the speed and the direction of the car after the impact? Okay, so you can just put this equation. You can always use this equation, which we have framed for perfectly inelastic collision. What was it? M1 V1 plus M2 V2 equal to M1 plus M2 into V final. So put the values accordingly. M1 V1, M2. Why V2 is taken negative? Because it's moving opposite. So if one is moving along positive x-axis, the other is moving along negative x-axis. Therefore, the value for the velocity 15 is being taken negative here in this case. All right. But then other things are simply, you substitute the values of M1 and M2, and correspondingly you will get the value of VF. Now VF ka value comes out to be 5.68 meter per second. All right, that's the magnitude. But if you talk about the sign over here, it is positive. So the positive sign over here indicates that the final velocity of both the cars after fusing with each other will be in the direction of the first car. Why first car? Because first car was moving with a positive velocity and the final velocity is also positive. So you will consider this combination or fusion after collision to be moving in the direction in which the first car was moving, that is along positive x-axis. Had this value been negative, then your interpretation would have been other way around. It would have been in the second car's direction. But since it is positive, here the answer is it is in the first car's position. So please make a note of it. Very interesting and important question, friends. Once you are done with it, let me know so that we can move ahead. Yeah, just give me a moment. Just going through your chats also simultaneously, so that I come to know we are in synchronization or not. All right, friends. So let's move ahead. Okay. Give me a moment. Let me check. Okay. So we talk about a concept called as coefficient of restitution, friends. And before we talk about coefficient of restitution, I'll share a different slide. We can again have a quick look at this, and then we'll come back to this once again. All right, friends, just give me a moment where share slide with you. Just a minute. Okay. So here, before we go to the concept called as coefficient of restitution, let's have a quick look at what inelastic collisions the examples are. Okay. So when a ball is allowed to fall on a hard floor from certain height, the collision is said to be inelastic. Why? Because in this case, the ball does not rebound to the original height due to the loss of kinetic energy. So you can see within few rebounds, the entire energy will be lost. So therefore, such example will be considered as inelastic. Second, lump of mud thrown on the wall sticks to the wall. Again, there is loss in kinetic energy. So again, this can be attributed to inelastic collision. More specifically, it can be attributed to perfectly inelastic collision, as we have seen in previous slides. Here, a meteorite collides head-on Earth. So these are the examples of perfectly inelastic collision you can see. So a ball falling on a floor, you can see the height keeps on reducing, and ultimately you will see the ball stops in later stages. So all these examples, can be inelastic, and last two examples are, they come under the category of perfectly inelastic collision, where the two bodies will behave like one single body and will move in a common final velocity. So please make a note of this, friends, before we move ahead and before we start discussing what coefficient of restitution is. So most of you say down with it. Okay, no problem. So let's move ahead then. So how do we define coefficient of restitution? So it can be defined as a negative ratio of relative velocity after collision to relative velocity before collision. Now we work out relative velocity. So say for example, there are two non-rotating spheres, A and B, moving to right along a straight line such that u1 and u2 are the initial velocities of those two spheres, in a way that u1 is greater than u2, which indicates that the collision is bound to happen, and therefore it makes head-on collision. So they continue moving towards right with the final velocities, say v1 and v2, and then how you work out the relative velocity. So in this case, the relative velocity before collision will be the difference in initial velocities before collision. So you can always mention it as u1 minus u2. Okay, so the difference in the initial velocities will be considered as the relative velocity before collision. Then what would be the relative velocity after collision? Obviously, whatever would be the difference between the final velocities after collision, we will consider that as relative velocity after collision, friends. So v1 minus v2 would be the relative velocity after collision. As per our definition, what is coefficient of restitution? It's a negative ratio of relative velocity after collision to relative velocity before collision. After collision is also called as after, this is like before approach and after approach, you can say. So this is how you define it. Okay, so relative velocity, ratio of relative velocity after collision to before collision, and then you can have this equation. If it's a negative ratio, so minus v1 minus v2 upon u1 minus u2. But when this negative sign enters the bracket, the same equation can then be written as v2 minus v1 upon u1 minus u2. So very important, and it's denoted by notation small e. Now this coefficient of restitution, what it says is, or what it is trying to tell you, how much collision is elastic and how much collision would be inelastic. So this is a parameter which will give us an idea whether the collision lies towards the elastic side or inelastic side or perfectly inelastic side. So this value decides, where the collision is going to lie or where the values would lie, say for example. Very, very important concept, friends. You come across questions on this time and again. Make a note of this slide. And once you're done with it, let me know. hopefully you're done with it. Let me see. Yeah, so most of you say yes. I believe you're done with it then. Okay, fine. Now the values of this coefficient of restitution will decide, what, whether it is a perfectly inelastic collision or elastic. So now for perfectly elastic collision, we know whatever is the difference after collision would be the difference before collision. So the value for coefficient of restitution will be 1. Why? Because v1 minus v2 will be equal to u1 minus u2 in that case, and therefore the coefficient of restitution would be 1. And then indirectly, or in conversely, you can say, if the coefficient of restitution is 1, then it is a perfectly elastic collision. Now what happens in perfectly inelastic collision? The bodies stick together, so the final difference is 0. Why? Because they are moving with the same final velocity. So what can you say about v1 and v2 difference between that? It will be 0, and 0 divided by anything will be 0. So E is 0. For which type of collisions? Perfectly inelastic collisions. Other way around of saying it is, if the coefficient of restitution is 0, then we can say the collision is perfectly inelastic collision. Obviously, other collisions will lie between 0 and 1. Hopefully you understand this. The coefficient of restitution for all the other collisions in day-to-day life will lie between 0 to 1. So we can say for inelastic collision, the relative velocity of approach is greater than the relative velocity of separation. The value of E will be between 0 and 1. So always you can see the value oscillates between 0 and 1. So whatever is the value of E will tell us how much elastic is the collision, or what part of it is inelastic in nature. Okay, so again an important parameter which is being defined over here, friends, and that is coefficient of restitution. Please make a note of this slide, very important. Once you are done with it, let me know so that I can share another screen with you which talks about the same thing, but then we have plenty of material with us. You can see. So most of you say yes. Fine. Yeah. So here we were. Okay. I was talking about this slide. Now it will be very easier for you to understand this. Why I say for perfectly elastic collision E is 1, and for perfectly inelastic collision E will be equal to 0. So this was the collisions in one dimension, friends. Right. So please make a note of it. Then we will solve some problems on what we have studied today, and we can always extend this discussion for other type of problems. So hopefully people say yes, done. Yeah. Well, let's move ahead then. Okay, just give me a moment. I can share a screen where we come across problems. We want to solve some problems. Just a minute. Yeah. So here we come across the problems. So last time we have seen, a problem where we talked about a body of mass 2 kg traveling with a velocity 4 meter per second makes a head-on elastic collision. Now the term elastic collision is clear to you. Here the coefficient of restitution is going to be 1. With another body, they say, of mass 1 kg traveling in the opposite direction with a velocity of 2 meter per second, and they are expecting to work out the values of velocities of the both bodies after collision. That means v1 and v2 we are supposed to find. So m1 in this case, you can see it is equal to 2 kg. u1, or the initial velocity for m1, is plus 4 meter per second because it's moving along positive x-axis. Okay. Then m2, they say it's 1 kg, but it is traveling in opposite direction. with velocity 2 meter per second. So you'll have to consider it as minus. So hopefully you understand why I'm considering u2 as minus 2 meter per second. Now, with the help of concept like, coefficient of restitution and law of conservation of momentum, we can work out this solution. Aha. So let's understand. So consider the direction of motion of 2 kg as positive. By conservation principle, m1 v1 plus m2, here instead of v1 it should be u1. Okay, remember that. So make that correction. Okay, m1 u1 plus m2 u2. That's the initial momentum before collision, will be equal to final momentum after collision, that is m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So here there is a correction. Instead of v1 it should be u1. Put the values correspondingly. When you do that, so 2 into 4 plus 1 into minus 2. Now you know why u2 is taken minus 2. It's moving along negative x-axis. Equal to m1, that is 2 into 1. You can see 2 into v1 plus 1 into v1. m2 is 1, right? So I get the equation 2v1 plus v2 equal to 6. So let this be, say, equation number 1. So from this we can say v2 will be 6 minus 2v1. So we have the value for v2 now. So before I show you the next part of the solution, we discuss the next part. Just make a note of it quickly before we move ahead and let me know. So here what we have done is, with the help of one equation, we have worked out the value basically of v2 in terms of v1. Yeah, people say yes. So let's move ahead then. Okay, so v2 would be 6 minus 2v1. Let this be equation 1. So I got the equation 1 over here. And as the collision is elastic, we all know kinetic energy is conserved. And for perfectly elastic collision, we all know E is equal to 1. But what is the formula for E? If E is 1, that means U1 minus U2 should be equal to V2 minus V1. Alright. So just put the values of U1 and U2. And you get V2 minus V1 equal to 6. Now you know the value of V2 from equation 1. Substitute it over here. And then the equation becomes in terms of V1. And then you can work out the value of V1. And what is the value of V1? 0 out of it. That means after collision, the first body will come to rest. Now once V1 is 0, you can put the value of V1 as 0, get the value of V2. So V2, they say it will be 6 meter per second. So V2 will start moving with 6 meter per second. So after the collision, V1 will stop and V2 will move. Just like what happens in a game of a carom board. One point stops, the other moves, imparting the momentum and velocity to it. So this is how, with the help of concept like coefficient of restitution, isn't it, and law of conservation of momentum, we establish such values. Please make a note of it before we move ahead. Okay, people say yes, done, good, great. Let's move ahead then. All right. Here comes another question. What they say here is a body of mass. Okay, just let me see whether we have worked out this analysis. Yeah, fine. We have worked out this analysis. Body of mass 2 kg moves at a speed of 4 meters. So you can see M1 is 2 kg, U1 is 4 meter per second, and it's been taken in positive direction, x-axis. So it's positive. Head-on collision with a body of mass 1 kg moving with a speed of 2 meter per second in the opposite direction. Therefore, U2 is taken minus 2. E is 0.4. Okay, and then they ask, it's not an elastic collision. Why? Because E is not 1, E is 0.4. But then they ask, what is the velocity of the two bodies after collision? So let's see what would be the value. The first equation can be framed from coefficient of restitution. And what is it? E equal to 0.4. So V2 minus V1 upon U1 minus U2 is 0.4. Okay. So put the values of U1 and U2. U1 is 4 and U2 is minus 2. So you get an equation in terms of V2 and V1. Okay. So before I show you that equation, please make a note of this and then we move ahead.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, Samrit, tell me.
Sir, is 0.4 mentioned in question? I mean to say, from where does it come?
Yeah, it was unfortunately it is not mentioned in the question, but it has to be mentioned. Are you getting it? So that's the correction in the question.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, got it right. But then we need that value to solve this. Okay, so we have assumed it as 0.4. Maybe it should have been given in the question. But let's say it's given, it's not being, it's a typological error which is not being shown. So let's take it as 0.4. Let's see. But the procedural part is all okay. So hopefully you're done with it. So we can move ahead. You let me know in this case. Once you are done with it, please let me know. Yeah. So most of you say yes. Okay. So let's move ahead then. So from this we get the equation V2 minus V1 equal to 6 into 0.4. So it comes out to be 2.4. So you get your first equation V2 minus V1 equal to 2.4 meter per second. So first equation and two unknowns from the first condition. Then we use law of conservation of momentum, friends, which says m1u1 plus m2u2 momentum before collision will be equal to momentum after collision. So m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So here we will just put the values. You know why u2 is taken negative, because it's moving in the opposite direction. So minus 2 equal to m1 into v1, that is 2v1, m2 into v2, that is 1 into v2, that is v2. From this also you will get equation in terms of v1 and v2. You can see. So you get the equation as 2v1 plus v2 equal to 6. Now you have two equations and two unknowns, v1 and v2. So solve them simultaneously or by substitution. So when you have two equations and two unknowns, you can get the value of two unknowns. So you get the value of two unknowns, and ultimately you end up getting v1 and v2 as v1 as 1.2 and v2 as 3.6 meter per second. You can see. So this is how law of conservation of momentum and coefficient of restitution will help you in solving problems. Hopefully these things are pretty clear to you, friends. Quickly make a note of it. Once you are done with it, let me know. Okay, most of you say yes, done. So move ahead then in that case. Yeah. One more question, similar type or similar lines, you can say. A body of mass 0.5 kg moving with a velocity of 6 meter per second collides with another body of mass 2 kg moving at 2 meter per second. Both are traveling in opposite direction. If two travel together after collision, find the velocity of the combined mass. That means here they are specifically talking about perfectly inelastic collision where the two bodies fuse and they move with a final common velocity. So let's put the given things on the screen. Again, you are also supposed to estimate the loss of kinetic energy. Obviously, it's not an elastic collision, it's an inelastic, that too perfectly inelastic. So there would be some loss in kinetic energy. We are supposed to estimate that also. Okay, so that makes this question more in-depth analysis, you can say. So M1 is 0.5 kg, U1 they say 6 meter per second, M2 I put it as 2 kg as per given things. Okay, U2 is minus 2 meter per second. You know why minus 10? Because it's moving opposite direction. Okay, they travel together with a common velocity. So it will be m1 u1 plus m2 u2 equal to m1 plus m2 into v. So perfectly elastic, inelastic collision ka example. So we'll work it out accordingly. Put the values. So m1 into u1 plus m2 u2. Can see. So from this, if you simplify it, you will get the common final velocity as minus 0.4 meter. What it means? So after collision, the combined mass will start moving in the opposite direction. That means if initially the body of mass 0.5 kg was moving along positive x-axis, the combined mass will start moving along negative x-axis with this speed after collision. That's what it means. Okay. The first part of the question is done, friends. We are supposed to find out velocity of the combined mass. So this is the magnitude with direction basically for the final velocity of the combined mass. Then we are supposed to find out loss in kinetic energy. Before I show you how we work out the loss in kinetic energy, quickly make a note of it before we move ahead. Okay, and let me know once you're done with it so that we can, move ahead. I can show you a different slide then. Yeah, okay. So most of you say yes. Let's move ahead then. So now what we are supposed to estimate is the loss in kinetic energy. So they move with a common final velocity. Let's work out kinetic energy before impact will be, first find out kinetic energy initially. So it will be like half m1 v1 square plus half m2 v2 square. You get initial kinetic energy in this manner. Let's talk about final kinetic energy. So kinetic energy final half. The mass has to be taken combined. Okay, 0.2 plus, 0.5 plus 2. And the final velocity as we have estimated, what is the value? 0.4. Put it over here with a negative sign. So accordingly, you will get final kinetic energy as 0.22. So initially it was 13, then it is 0.2. So work out the difference. Difference between the two will be 13 minus 0.2. It has to be 12.8 joules. Yeah. Loss in kinetic energy will be 12.8. But kinetic energy initial जिसका है, उसका value will be, you all know, loss in kinetic energy is 12.8, right? So initial and final velocities you can work it out. Okay. Hopefully things are pretty clear till here. Please let me know.